Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, speaking at you from Monday, March 23rd, 2026, in the space and time continuum. And I'm glad that we're recording this on Mondays instead of Sundays, because what I'm going to talk to you about today, a lot of it happened just this morning. And it's pretty crazy. But still, this is all distracting from the Epstein Files. We cannot forget about the Epstein Files. There are some people still talking about the Epstein Files. This is a House hearing on the U.S. action against Venezuela drug traffickers. And this is our friend Jasmine Crockett, representative from Texas.
There's this little thing called the Epstein Files. There's a lot of people that have been found liable, charged, all kinds of stuff, from Prince Andrew and Peter Mandelson, from Norwegian officials, the former prime minister, and the former ambassador, all these different people, right? Some would argue, especially since there was international trafficking that was taking place, some would argue that our president, whose name is found over and over and over and over in these files, may have engaged in, say, child trafficking, sex trafficking. They may come to that conclusion. Now, with that being the understanding, if there are other countries that believe, because they believe in actually holding people accountable, okay? So they say, you know what? There were some girls from England or wherever, because there were people from different countries. And they say, you know what? We gonna just come and we're gonna drop in on America. We're going to bomb America. We're going to kill civilians in America because, you know what? We have a warrant for his arrest. Whether it's for the child sex trafficking in the Epstein Files because America doesn't want to do their job, or whether we're talking about violating international law, whether we're talking about going and just randomly killing people. I can tell you that every single one of you that is sticking up for him right now would be screaming from the rooftops. The analysis has to be the same. I am so offended that I am still paying my daggone student loans for law school, and it seems like none of it matters nowadays, because seemingly what we do is we twist the law to justify. The analysis is the same. If you would be outraged if they came and bombed our country to go after him, to arrest him, if you're listening, that I don't know if people are doing this. But if they decided to do that because of the Epstein Files or because of violating international law, you all would be against it. So we should be against it right now. Thank you. I'll yield.
So we should be against going into Venezuela and taking their leader for alleged crimes that we say that he committed. Yeah, very good point, Representative Jasmine Crockett. And we're getting sick of it. I know you're getting sick of it. I'm certainly sick of it. It's very maddening. And this podcast, frankly, is getting more and more difficult to do because nothing is moving. We're also not hearing things happening in Ukraine and Russia. There are a lot of things going on there that are very interesting, and nobody's talking about it over here. Here's another thing that nobody's talking about. I bet you haven't heard about this. I'm going to read for you from Punchbowl News, an actual news source that goes looking for actual news. President Donald Trump rejected a deal to end the government shutdown that would have allowed TSA employees to start getting paid again. White House aides and Republican Senate colleagues urged the chamber's majority leader, John Thune, to approach Trump with a new proposal on Sunday, as he was in the throes of threatening Iran with hellfire, before sensationally U-turning on Monday morning. More on that in a moment as well. Going back to Punchbowl News here, But it appeared Trump was in no mood to take up an offer that Thune said Democrats were willing to rubber stamp, despite the proposal providing a way for TSA workers to start getting their paychecks and travel chaos at airports to subside. Trump reportedly balked at the deal as it contained no recourse to fund immigration and customs enforcement. That's ICE. The agreement would have ended the 37-day government shutdown, causing mayhem in airports across the country. There are about 61,000 TSA employees currently caught in the middle of the fight, and after Trump's reported refusal, Congress remains locked in a stalemate over funding the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees TSA. Even after Thune assured the president that reconciliation could be used to handle ICE funding and deprive Democrats of some of their key demands, Trump shot down the proposal. Trump is said to have demanded Republicans stay in Washington and keep up pressure on Democrats to support both DHS funding and the Save America Act, his sweeping GOP bill targeting voter identification and election rules, causing voter suppression, of course. He reportedly vowed to publicly chastise any Senate Republican who dared to leave town for recess, promising them an Easter dinner at the White House that some interpreted as more threatening than hospitable. So this is Trump. Republicans are trying to say it's the Democrats' fault that TSA is not being funded and all this chaos is going on at the airports. Trump turned down a proposal that was agreed upon bipartisanly to fund TSA and stop the chaos at the airport. Instead, Trump said yesterday, and apparently has delivered, ICE agents, quote-unquote agents, to airports to quote-unquote help TSA. Now, I want to report that even though Trump himself zoned in on Minneapolis when he made that announcement, there is today no ICE agents in the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport because we pushed them out for good. That's what we did. Now, I want to go into what was mentioned in that article about him promising hellfire on Sunday and then turning around on Monday morning. This is market manipulation is what's going on. He said over the weekend, if you don't open the Hormuz Straits. It's the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, strait in this case is spelled S-T-R-A-I-T, not S-T-R-A-I-G-H-T, like Trump spelled it in a statement that he put out. Anyway, if you don't open the Strait of Hormuz in 48 hours, I'm going to bomb all of your power structures and all of your oil and blah, blah, blah. What happens when he says that? The stock market tanks. And then all of his buddies buy stocks at the lowest possible price. Then on Monday morning, he comes out and says, we made a deal that we agreed on everything. It was a perfect meeting. It was perfect. It went perfect. It's a perfect deal. We agree on many points. How many points? 15 points. 15 points. You cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's probably 1, 2, and 3. Point 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, this is all real stuff. I don't have to make up. I don't have to try and write funny stuff to make fun of Trump. He's way beyond any parody that anyone could come up with at this point. Now, Iran within 20 minutes said that was a complete falsehood. That was a complete lie. Of course. And here in America, we are now believing the enemy that we're at war with more than we believe our own president. That's where we are in America. So, he said that Witkoff and Jared Kushner met, but he also said there's nobody to meet. We don't know who to talk to because we've killed everybody. And then he said the Strait of Hormuz will be open, and then asked, who's going to run the Strait of Hormuz? Maybe me, and the Ayatollah? Maybe the Ayatollah. Even though literally less than 60 seconds before that, he said that the new Ayatollah, they don't think he's alive. So he and a dead Ayatollah are going to run the Strait of Hormuz, but he's going to call it the Hormuz Straits and spell it wrong. In the meantime, did you know there are big disasters, huge flooding going on in Hawaii? That's a really scary, huge problem. Nebraska, there's tornadoes going on. There was a collision on the ground at LaGuardia Airport. Did you know any of that? Usually the president talks about those things. Usually there are press conferences dealing with those types of things. All of that's just being completely ignored. Not just by the administration, but by the media and by most people in America. And it's, I mean, we don't even, what do we do? What do we do? How do we follow all of these things? Let's take a break and come back, because there's still more to talk about that's developing right now that you're probably not hearing about, which I think is incredible. But that's what we're going to cover here at Satellite View. So let's take a break. We'll be right back. And we're back on a Satellite View. Find our website at satelliteviewpodcast.com. Sign up to be on our email list. Go to YouTube and do a search for Satellite View Podcast, and you'll find our YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's free. And you can find me at Todd Mikkelson on Twitter, Blue Sky, things like that, Instagram. This bulletin just in. A U.S. Air Force F-35A pilot suffered shrapnel wounds after their aircraft was damaged during a combat mission over Iran on March 19th. The aircraft was hit by ground fire, though U.S. Central Command has not provided details. The aircraft was most likely damaged by a surface-to-air missile rather than by small arms fire or another projectile, given the altitude at which the F-35 typically flies. The incident is under investigation, according to U.S. military officials. I am reading to you from Air and Space Forces magazine, by the way. And I don't know why our military won't comment on it. Actually, I do. The F-35 is a stealth airplane. Radar cannot pick it up. It has been called unkillable, something like that. But it sounds like it was hit. The aircraft later made an emergency landing at an airbase in the region, the spokesperson for U.S. Central Command previously said, adding that the pilot was in stable condition. A spokesperson for Central Command declined to comment yesterday, March 22nd, when asked about the incident. Wow, okay. Why? Why would you not at least... Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps posted a video on March 19th purporting to show an F-35 being targeted and struck by an Iranian air defense system. The authenticity of the video has not been confirmed. On March 22nd, Iran said it unsuccessfully targeted an F-15E Strike Eagle with a surface-to-air missile near the Iranian coast. In the March 19th incident, the IRGC said that it severely damaged the F-35 in its strike. U.S. military has not commented on the extent of damage to the aircraft. So we get our information from our supposed enemy that we're fighting a war against, because the United States won't give us any information. Iran has developed air defense systems that can use passive infrared sensors rather than radar to target aircraft, a solution that previously proved effective in Yemen when employed by the Iranian-backed Houthis, which downed around half a dozen Mk-9 Reapers during Operation Rough Rider. last year. The stealthy F-35 evades radar, but infrared sensors home in on heat. The F-35 is now one of around 20 U.S. Air Force aircraft known to be damaged or destroyed in the nearly 3-week-old Iran war. Did we know this? No. We did not know this. Have you heard that? I don't know why. I don't know why this is happening. But there's some news that I think is pretty big deal. The F-35 has been stealth. We thought it was impossible to shoot or even see, and that era has passed. And did the administration know this? The administration didn't know Iran's capabilities. Kash Patel fired all of our Iranian anti-terrorism people in the FBI because they had previously been assigned to do something. Anyway, yeah, in this thing that Trump was at, it was on the tarmac coming from Florida because he takes a vacation every weekend on our dime. How much does it cost to fly Air Force One and all of the Secret Service down, back and forth every weekend to Florida? So he's talking on the tarmac and he's just going crazy. It was, I think, the most stupid and crazy sounding press conference possibly so far ever with him. What else? So you remember when the news was talking about Nancy Guthrie? Savannah Guthrie's mother? What happened there? I mean, they were covering it too much for a while because they don't want to cover the Epstein Files in our media. They don't want to, so they're like, great, here's a tragic story for us to talk about way too much. Isn't the FBI supposed to find whoever kidnapped Nancy Guthrie? It was, I think, the 1st of the 28th of February. Where is she now? Nobody knows. They stopped talking about it. You can't really find news about it. What did the FBI do? Anything? Here's more news that you might not know. Elon Musk was convicted by a jury of his peers on a case that the Twitter, stockholders or something of Twitter sued him for giving misleading statements to bring the price of Twitter down so that Elon Musk could buy it for cheaper, even though he brags about how rich he is, which I don't think he is half as rich as he says he is. I don't think any of these oligarchy assholes are half as rich as they say they are. But now it's also possible that the same thing, Tesla put up the same charge against Elon Musk, I think in 2023, saying that he was making misleading statements and it made the stock go down. So Tesla might now do this again. It might get brought back up in court. Elon Musk is losing in court. He's also in big trouble in France for his Grok AI thing, putting out photos of children undressed. I mean, what? What? Did you hear about any of this? Have you heard about any of this on the news? Have you heard about this on NBC Evening News? No. Anyway, I know this is kind of an aggravating show again, but I'm just trying to get you caught up on some news, and it's hard to be funny about this. Anyway, let's go into some things that are going on that we're not hearing about in Russia. Did you know that since March 9th, Vladimir Putin has not been seen? He has disappeared. There is a lot of speculation about his health or whether or not he's alive in Russia. There's a lot of speculation about whether or not Netanyahu is alive. They keep putting out these weird videos. There was one the other day that looked like it was a body double walking around some ruins from a missile. In that one, there's a whole bunch of security around him. But from the one from last week where he's just going into a coffee shop with no security guards, bragging about that he has 5 fingers because the video before that, he had 6 fingers because they're releasing AI videos of him to try and prove to Israel that he's alive. Why? Is he? Is he alive? Is he sick? Is he hurt? Why? Putin, where is he? Also, a bunch of the elites in Russia are trying to leave Russia, if they can, which most of them can't. Putin is not safe in the Kremlin, within the Kremlin anymore. People think if he is alive, maybe he's in a bunker. This is all things that are really going on in Russia. Huge protests across the largest cities in Russia, all over Russia. Primorsk Port, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's spelled Primorsk, Primorsk Port in Russia. It's way up by Finland. It's in the northern part of Russia, very far away from Ukraine, yet Ukraine was able to hit that port, and it is totally in blazes. And it was a successful hit far away. Russia cannot defend itself from Ukrainian drones, and Ukraine is sending drones deep into the country. Now, Trump lifting the sanctions on Russia may have been able to filter because he also lifted sanctions on Belarus banks. Maybe that gave Russia a little bit more of a lifeline because really Vladimir Putin probably would have fallen by now. But nobody knows. Maybe he has. A whole bunch of the security leadership has been indicted for fraud and embezzlement and things like this. The Kremlin is undefended. The skies are undefended. People are unable to go on the internet. People are unable to check their emails. People are unable to use their phones in Moscow and St. Petersburg and some of the biggest cities. And people now, they pulled out about $1 trillion from banks. And now the banks are not letting you take your money, your own money. Let's read Anna from Ukraine for the last few days. 7 days ago, Moscow under massive attack. Moscow huge attack. Airports in panic. Flights canceled. 6 days ago, Moscow Krasnodar on fire. Putin lost control of Russia's skies. That's within Moscow. 5 days ago, Russians withdraw trillions in a cash panic, and there is no internet. They've not had the internet for more than 2 weeks, and Putin has not been seen for 14 or 15 days now. Russia's aircraft plants hit in Ulyanovsk, Novgorod. Explosions there. The key aviation plants attacked by Ukraine. Ukraine sounds like they're kicking Russia's ass, and Russia can't defend itself. Putin in a bunker. Putin avoids the Kremlin. There's surveillance panic within the Kremlin. Mass protests in Murmansk. Furious workers against Kremlin. Russia dissolution. There's all kinds of stuff here. Millions offline in Russia. St. Petersburg. Moscow panic. Let's go to Jason J. Smart. He's got, in one video, he's talking about these are the chapters within the video. The intro is Ukraine hits Russia's energy jugular. That's what I talked about in the Primorsk port. Putin's nightmare, Ukraine's drone supremacy. I mentioned that. Russia's bankruptcy, the oil revenue death spiral. Now, even though Trump has lifted oil sanctions on Russia, Russia can't get their exports out of their own country. So they're not able to make money on their oil exports, which was a huge part of their money. Their economy is in shambles. Here's another chapter from Jason J. Smart. Kremlin grift. Putin's security guard collapse. That's what I mentioned. Putin's panic. Russian cities rise up. Those are the protests. Kremlin sabotage. The inner circle betrays Putin. This is why the Kremlin doesn't seem safe for Putin and why Putin's disappeared, or maybe he died. Russia's end. Putin's Nicholas II moment. I have to admit, I don't know the Nicholas II moment. I didn't look in it. But basically, it's really looking like it is falling apart. Now, I know I've been saying that for a long time, but how long can this kind of stuff go on? How long can it go on? Also, the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, it was damaged by fire last week. Did you know about this? It's not on its way to Iran. It's going somewhere else because it's damaged. Over 100 beds were burned. Guys are sleeping, or men and women in the armed forces are sleeping on floors in the ship. Somebody had to be airlifted out. There were a bunch of injuries in this big fire that started in the laundry. Did you know about that? Why do we not know about any of this stuff? You know, Iran is doing major war all the time, and we're not really hearing about it over here. It's crazy. Now, another thing about Russia is that all of these things, they're being leaked. All of these stories are being leaked. Even the fact that Putin's been missing since March 9th, that's a major leak. That's not something that usually gets known by anybody. It's not like it's here in America. Russia has more free-flowing information right now than the United States, as does Iran. We find out more about our war with Iran from Iran than we do from the Trump regime. Trump was crazed at this presser this morning, contradicting himself. You know, no, he said something like, if we were successful last summer, we were very successful. But if we weren't, then we had to go back in. He said that. So anyway, it's crazy. It's crazy. I still feel optimistic. Believe it or not, I still feel optimistic. This stuff cannot hold. It cannot hold. He also said, he said he's stopping bombing for 5 days. Now, the reason probably is because we're probably out of bombs. But he doesn't say that. So he says, we made this great deal with Iran, so we're not going to bomb for 5 days. And after 5 days, we'll see. If there's no big deal, if they start again, then we'll start bombing our little hearts out. That's what he said. That's the president of the United States. We will bomb our little hearts out. Oh, God. Yeah. Anyway, is it funny? I mean, it's kind of funny. I don't know. It's not funny. So I can't think of where else to take you. Actually, most of this stuff is from less than 24 hours ago. It's pretty unbelievable. So yeah, I will continue recording on Mondays instead of Sundays because Monday morning seems to be a big news day right now. Now, we have to remember, first of all, I think it's next week, March 28th. Yeah, I think it's next week is the next No Kings rallies, and there are many hundreds more scheduled than there were in the last one. These do make a difference. They do make a difference. The power of the people will be back in the news. The Epstein Files is being talked about in many places, probably maybe not where you're hearing, but certainly not ABC, NBC, but it is still a thing. It is why Trump is doing all this BS. It still is. It still is. He is implicated for child rape in the Epstein Files, and that's why he started a war with Iran. Nobody wanted him to. None of his advisors wanted him to. None of the military advisors wanted him to. He did it anyway, because he's trying to cover up for him and his buddies, his pedophile, child rapist buddies. He's covering and protecting them. That's what this war is about. That's what all of this stuff is about. Now, I know some people are hurting, but ICE isn't acting the way they were in January and February. Things are getting tamped down. Of course, actually, who knows what's going to happen in Iran? Are we really not going to bomb for 5 days? So every week we're having to be on the edge of our seats watching what's going to happen. But I do, believe it or not, feel confident this stuff will come to an end. It has come so far that it has to crash down. This is irreparable. And we need to repair things. So let's get rid of all this crap and start rebuilding. That's what I'm waiting for. And I'm here with you. Let's stick together. Let's use our power because the people do have power. Do not lose your faith in that because it is true. These No Kings rallies are going to be another demonstration to the White House and to the Republicans about what they're up against. The Republicans are running scared right now. There is a Republican on TV, on CNN, saying that if Trump breaks up NATO, it will ruin the Republican Party for years. The Republican Party will implode, he said. The Republican Party is terrified right now, and they don't know what to do. They are afraid that they are going to implode. They are afraid that they will become extinct, and they should be. Let's make them extinct. All right. I want to thank you so much for sticking with me here on A Satellite View. Let's stick together, and together we will get through this mess. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.